Good morning. Hello and welcome. This is the Daily Dharma. My name is Dina. Thank you so much for joining. So today I've laid out some cards from the mixed shamanic decks here, all decks listed below for those interested. And based on what's out here, we're going to get code cards on top to clarify, and maybe another deck if we have time. Yesterday I did pull out my Dreams of Gaia deck, but that one is a complex deck that I'm new to, and I ran out of time at the end, so we'll get into that at a different time. So at the bottom of the deck here we have the circle. And this is reminding me of a great conversation I had with a friend yesterday, talking a lot about the various types of community building exercises, support group, different things and ways of connecting where people come together. So there's so many different micro and macrocosmic ways this can come in. Let's look at the microcosm of the circle of life and how humans have quite a different consciousness from the various animal kingdoms, and we have perhaps a little bit more pride and ego at play within our situations. And so I'm sensing that this is talking about gatherings, and this has been coming through with the word convergence recently. If you haven't been following, just briefly, it's about, I looked up the word convergence the first time I think I put it into the title that day, or it was the time before. And it's the concept that either there's a group of individuals coming together or beings, whatever. It can be large particles or materials occupying the same space. Could be said that we're all converging upon a location or converging upon an individual. There's also this meaning of where different animals, birds, aquatic, and individuals, whatever, might be occupying the same environment or habitat, and even though they're from different genetic makeups that occupying the same environment, those animals and whatever start to develop a similar trait to the others based on the environment. So it's really talking about how our own DNA can be evolving based on what we're surrounded by. So we've talked about that at different times, so I don't want to get too much into that. But convergence here, it's like I'm also seeing that there are many individuals that are being compelled to get together with other individuals to seek out community activity or community belonging, whether that's virtual groups or literal groups in your community or formulating your own groups. I'm also seeing those individuals working in energy work, doing things like gathering along vortice energies around the globe, or ley lines, charging ley lines, other individuals gathering to heal water, others gathering in service to earth. Like recycling centers are even an evidence of this, or cleaning up litter along the highways. These are all ways that we can gather in service and community with like-minded individuals for the betterment of the world. On the pre-shuffle with the code cards, I did get Gaia coming out, but let's go over what's on the board here so far. The first one to pop out from the shamanic deck was 52, straddling worlds, wandering between realms. And I'm also seeing the word wondering. Reminds me of a short stint where a group of individuals and myself decided we were going to create some group, and we were going to call it Wandering Roots, and that was taken. So we decided to try to call it Wondering Roots, but that didn't get off the ground. I don't know if that's something that comes in for you, but straddling worlds here to me is, we were also discussing yesterday how the personality can be quite distracted and just Really immersed in the material world versus other individuals that are really connecting with integration, healing, and consciousness behaviors, and thereby modifying their interaction with their world. And this guy was calling it the multidimensional individuality process, where we are not going out and trying to be like we've been told, but then that individuation process comes through. And I'm sensing that this is somebody who's then going and doing these things. And the way it was coming through when in this discussion was that we had in a past various groups that we'd belonged to. We would go out and start telling people about it and saying, oh yeah, you need to try this, or this is so good for everybody could get something out of it. And then there's no buy-in, or people yeah. And then we're feeling kind of left standing there bereft, like, oh well, this person doesn't want what's good for them. And I know that although we don't always have all the same paths, and so the path to our enlightenment is not the path that somebody else might necessarily benefit from. It's all their free will and free choice there. But what I had said was that we can't be discouraged by their lack of buy-in to our pathway, because then we'd be just like the others, like this is the way, dogmatic, very rigid structures and parameters of what's good and what's not good. And instead, what I had said is that as we attend those groups, instead of going out and proselytizing all of the good and bad and evils and becoming just a preacher instead of a mentor and teacher, that we can see ourselves as, now that we have attended that meeting, now we are that meeting, and others that interact with us are interacting with the takeaways from that, because we are the embodiment of the takeaway from every meeting or community involvement that we've ever engaged in. And that's really what this multidimensional wandering between realms is about. It's like, as we wander and wonder and become more curious with our process, we are really that bridge between spirit and matter, bringing that higher, more evolved consciousness into body, into our world. And then that multidimensional aspect is that when that individual says something to us, then we don't have to explain what we're doing, but those little sentences that we might relay back would still have an impact on them, and then they can make it mean whatever it needs to mean for their process. So it's something about an accumulated experience with us and being able to apply that without feeling the urge or need to quantify what we're saying. The Earth Keeper, number 18. This to me, it seems like an individual that's really trying to caretake and direct. It's an earth mentor, and you may be quite humble, but this is being able to take those wings and protect those that come through your experience in some way. And there's a lot of, I want to say, residual debris. Like if you take in the image, it's very mottled and muddied and not as clear. So it's as though when we're taking the meeting to the people as maybe some type of shepherd type of entity, I'm seeing that there's a lot of narrative that comes with that for some of us, like, oh well, this person doesn't want really what's good for them, or this person will never change, or maybe that's not right for that guy, okay, moving on. Stuff like that, where then we start to create the storyline instead of being able to, well, I want to interrupt that. It's also more than that. It's like when we take in other individuals with that sense of judgment, I'll call it, rather than the discernment of how I can utilize my voice to not ostracize and create that repulsion energy of no, 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 meetings aren't for me, or no, 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 therapy isn't for me, or whatever it might be. And I want to say that it's like when we can move from judgment to discernment and allowing other people their process without it affecting us, that's how we can kind of maintain our clarity without taking others' healing into ourselves or making others' process part of our responsibility. We can serve much better when we don't take responsibility for those that must take responsibility for their actions and choices. And if someone comes to us and asks us to be under their dictates, then that's impinging upon our ability and our our ability to be an individual and to be sovereign unto ourselves. And so it's important to maintain a true sense of self in unity consciousness, or else we become, unbeknownst to us, mired in something that doesn't serve. So 49 coming next, skywriting the fates. I don't know if some of you read the runes. There are some runic symbols here, and I don't know all of them off the bat, but I do believe that we've got the one that looks like a bow tie. I do believe is something about interaction and mirroring. The one that looks like an M, I do believe is it Rido, the horse? And then there's a few more. Anyways, and then the double happiness one, I do believe. Anyways, skywriting the fates. What it's speaking about to me is that having this multidimensional information and witnessing how others use their energy, when we can release that judgment and look to our own resonance and our own sovereignty, then we understand that given the boundary, given the limitations, who is mutually supportive and reciprocal with our energy, and who is exploiting or taking advantage or whatever else. So when this came out, and often when I see it, I tend to hear the writing is on the wall. And that saying, I guess that what I think it means is something like that the evidence is around us already, and people have shown themselves, people have spoken their resonance and their truth, and that perhaps we're getting signs and synchronicities, either number codes come up often, or feather. I'm seeing a feather here with this illuminated light, or some type of imagery, whether it's a word that appears differently, like wonder, wander, or like the word right has come up, like writing things down versus correct right or right hand. These play on words or signs and synchronicities in nature. Birds have been coming up a lot in the readings. And I was thinking of this as far as like a star being type of a connection quite often. But yesterday after the reading, I was also noticing how many birds are surrounding on my property. And when I'm walking around and doing other things, how tuned in I am to the songs and the chirps and what animals are moving and talking and speaking and the time of day. And I'm seeing that as this earth keeper energy, somebody who's so in tune with it that they just almost overlook it, such as being raised in the city, living in the city. You almost don't pay attention when you hear shouting or honking horns or sirens in the distance. It's just part of the song of the city, which is why I live in the country. But some people think they love it or do love it for whatever reason, but there's something being obscured. I saw the 18 here with Earthkeeper being that moon energy, and then look at this moon energy here. Today is the new moon in Taurus, and so that's really bringing in those eclipse energies from the end of March, early April. And those energies persist for 6 to 9-ish, almost to a year time frame, depending on how it plugs into your specific natal astrology. And then we had the conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus at about 22 degrees of Taurus. This new moon was at 17 degrees. Yeah, 1702, I think. Anyways, this moon energy is really bringing us into the body, into the earth, into flow with Mother Earth, and how we keep the earth and the ways that we support, both through service to earth, to animal, to air, water, fire, the elementals, and how we flow with that information. And then also this this cloudy moon energy. It's like recognizing where our energy is being drained or dissipated or not met. And so we may be seeking out groups to gain further support, to make our efforts exponential by, for instance, connecting with somebody that has a similar philosophy can be super inspirational. And where you might think you are creative and inspired to begin with, a good conversation is like two people like, oh, yeah, and that other thing. Oh, yeah, that's great. Oh my gosh, that's so deep. I haven't thought of that. You know, that reminds me something else. And then that spontaneous back and forth mirroring process creates that that encircling, that support, that connectivity through the ethers, through the multiverse. It's like everybody then that touches that inspirational energy going forward has a piece of that piece. Piece of peace. That was something from a Nako and Medicine for the People song. A piece of my peace I give to you, I think it was. There's more to that. All of his stories and lyrics are so meaningful. At least in the old days, the newer songs are a little different. Moving on, number 50, the spiral. Things that go around and around, such as patterns, such as narratives, such as the earth, the cosmos, you know, that spinning type. Oh, the whirling dervish too. Those dancers that just spin and spin and spin and spin and spin, and they should get dizzy, but there's something about the extreme alignment and centering of energy that allows them through physics to create vortex energy and to work on vortex energy. So there's something about vortex energies, whirlpool, spinning. So spinning something on its head. And it's this Fibonacci energy, but in the moment right now, it's really looking like some kind of like an iguana or dragon eye. And I know this is Year of the Dragon, which has come up quite a bit. But it's like this is an 8-year, an empowerment year, where we strengthen our resolve to do what we're here to do. And so there's something that's coming full circle. And when the circle is completed, then we can either continue to go around the same narrative and circle like a hamster on a wheel, or like a cog in a wheel, just a piece of a system. Or when the circle becomes a spiral, it has a little bit to do with having a quantum leap, like the critical mass that allows something to then become expanded and larger, right? So instead of like when we drop a pebble in water and how those concentric rings spiral out, it's kind of showing me that the impact is larger. Anyways, I want to keep going too, because speaking of water, the next one here is 42, the Rainmaker. And I'm seeing this as part of that straddling the worlds. Let's put these in order. So from straddling the worlds, then comes this earth keeper energy where we're going out and seeing other individuals, but then we're allowing it to be washed away here, where we're providing some type of hydration for the parched earth. And on the symbolic level, all of these individuals out here are really needing inspiration, many of them, because of how we get locked in, solidified, creating this rigidity of mind, body, and spirit, and the aging process and the decomposition process. When we're not learning, we're falling backwards. When we're not growing and accelerating here, then we're starting the decline process. So into our older age, the more curious we become, the more flexible we allow our brains to be, the more we can remain in relevance. Because if you think about it, look at the older generations when they shake their head at the younger generations and they're like, oh, I don't know what world I'm living in anymore. And then there's also the younger generations that come into the traditional world and are like, I don't know where I've just landed, but I swear I must be an alien. I feel alienated amongst my peers. Where are my like-minded individuals? So I sense that the more that we're able to get out of our own way, as far as not making a story about there's nobody like me, and going out and seeking for those, and when we don't find them, being able to reach the individuals that do find us with the understanding that they would not seek us and we would not have met them if we were not seeking them as well, so that there's this completion point. Even in opposition, there is completion, like yin yang symbol. The dark and the light serve each other. And so in this way, we can provide that juxtaposition, that counterbalance, and in that way providing the sustenance in watering the earth, so creating the rain for me is more like being able to flow with your consciousness and your emotional fluctuations, and to create some type of meaning and medicine from that, like Nako and medicine for the people. I know I'm plugging my music here, but the rainmaker is like being able to take the accumulated life experience, the cosmic influx, the lower world's pressure, and to alchemize that into whatever it might be, song, lyrics, and validation for other individuals on the level, like we're not running around like blowing smoke. I'm just saying, like, if somebody's like, oh, well, I don't know, nobody works hard, I work so hard all the time, da 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 da, we could say something like, it sounds like you're a very hard worker, and I'm sure that others would appreciate you, but it sounds like it's time for you to give yourself permission to take a break. And then maybe when you come back, you'll feel renewed. Giving somebody that is like, it's not saying, well, it sounds like you're, projecting this and not allowing yourself. We can say, boy, it sounds like you need to rest a little bit, or take a deep breath, or something like that. Healthy reflections instead of that repulsion energy where we're watering the dry earth. They're overextended, they're drained, but they don't understand their own narrative, but we see it. So I sense that from this place, then that is like the shepherd, then people are like drawn to our light. And I'm seeing this with gathering around, the power of community. Speaking of the birds, it's like as we go back into either our sacred space or out into the world, we become that beacon of light, we become magnetic. And it's like some kind of Snow White type thing where she's out there singing and la 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 la, and all these birds are like coming in and playing her song and, tweeting and doing their things. It's like the fairy realm and the elementals gathering forward towards you. And you are also embodying their presence here because of the multidimensional aspects of your nature. You are nature. That's 26. Moving into 51. We do have 50, 51, and 52 here. The staff. The staff talks about authority. And to me, it talks about being the shaman with the medicine staff. The caduceus that Hermes has might be something that speaks to you. I'm also seeing something about, it's there's the bull horns, which reminds me of the sign of Taurus with the new moon, the antlers here, the feathers at the base here. There's new growth happening here. It's like, in witnessing all of this, can we admit to ourselves or acknowledge this wisdom? And can we use our wisdom for medicine instead of allowing any type of resentments or otherwise to continue to just scribble out all over our walls? It's like we can take in, and it's the codes too. So the soul blueprint, many people talk about that. What I see it as we have this auric shield, this Merkaba field based on many different things, but chakra health, our expression, our personality, our integration of shadow and light, and maybe our Akashic heritage, all of our guides, guardians, all gathering together creates this spiraling energy, multi-layered spiraling energy. And I see that from the time that perhaps in some teachings, people will talk about how we choose to incarnate, how the soul really chooses the vessel, chooses the environment, chooses the nuclear family and certain aspects of the struggle that we choose in order to activate us as quickly and efficiently as possible. But that we also take we have these issues getting beyond ourselves because we stand in our own way in multiple ways. And it's like the sky writing the fates is almost like all of that writing isn't necessarily on the walls, it's on our perimeter. It's surrounding us. And so it's like, is this my fate? Is this my destiny? Let me look at the codes and try to perceive them and see what the activation is here and see what the integration is here. And it's almost like we can go in like some huge mathematical equation and make our alterations. I know that I wouldn't be doing any advanced math in this body, but I think that you understand what I'm talking about. It's like light codes drawn on the auric shield, and then when it's time, when we perceive that writing, then we can say, I understand, and then we move in that direction, and then we answer that code. So it's in fated time, divine timing, to stand up with authority and recognition. And I'm sensing that there's some type of leadership, like we are meant to come together with other individuals to help to create a healthy circle of interaction, where maybe you need a talking stick, where the person who has the stick is the one who has the floor and gets to speak, and then we all need to wait our turn. Or maybe you need somebody to preside over something, or to be the one that keeps the sacred space. Or in Druid lore, they have somebody who keeps the fire at different times. Yeah, there's something about the spiral of the staff and the activation of our DNA, because I'm seeing the twisted double helix here within the staff. And so there's a lot of communication that needs to be happening. And so 35 is the last one here, lost compass, getting back to integrity. I feel like this is the circle, the hamster wheel, whether that was some type of comfort zone or some type of stop along the way, or a relationship, or something that kind of drew us backwards, where we weren't seeing as clearly, or some type of discouragement here with those around us, or having tried to gather community in the past and not feeling that those things were as they should be. It feels like right now is the time where we're being able to get back into our ability to do our earth keeping, that crucial part that activates the rest of the DNA. So contact flipped in the deck. I'm going to place that over straddling worlds, wandering between realms. It's like contact with our code, and then also contact with that part of ourselves, that soul star. By investing in the root, then we can move further. Anything else? Yeah, Starseed was at the bottom of the deck, and I was noticing how it really looks like the straddling between worlds. We are a connection point between the multiverse, and how it connects with us helps to bring that into being here. And so under the deck we have union. So union with your star seed origins, or the original reason for being here. So it's an activation point for sure. And Earthkeeper, we'll go with that. Worthy. Look at the color palettes that are showing up for these. So being able to perceive of what we're really doing here. It's not about my meeting or my circle being the end all be all. It's, are we all moving in that healthy direction? And just because it's not right for you doesn't mean that my path isn't worthy and valid. It's like we need to recognize and return to our spiritual practice that brings us back into ourselves. I'm seeing this as an individual at the very center here, head, shoulders, hands clasped in front or behind, standing here in robes, this ancient being, and then like these enormous hands or something. It almost looks like lips. It's like, oh, maybe it is lips, and being able to speak forth something that's coming through and then speak it into being. It's like carrying the meeting forward, carrying the circle of elders or ancestors or star beings, carrying their messages forward and having it speak out into the earthly realms. So I think that's all that my recording is going to take. Commitment is coming over the fates, skywriting. Spiral comes out with union. Rainmaker, surface